Greetings and happy Halloween. It's me, Jillian Aversa, or should I say, Jillian Askersa. I am here to talk about how to concoct spooky vocal music. Okay, enough of that. But seriously, today I'd like to discuss how you can create a scary, creepy, or haunting atmosphere in a soundtrack. We'll cover three things: composition, instrumentation, and singing techniques, using some of my favorite video game covers as a reference. So let's jump in. First, you can't exactly have happy-go-lucky music underneath. In my Super Metroid arrangement with my husband Andrew, Zircon Aversa, the eeriness really starts in the melody, harmony, and rhythm. This track, we titled Kindred, is based on the Maridia rocky underwater area of the game. The chord progression when the vocal comes in is unsettling, not just because it's mostly minor, but because it doesn't feel like it settles into a single key. Every 2 measures is a chord and key change. And on top of that, they're not just minor, there are added seconds which add a bit of extra dissonance. All of that makes things feel unstable in a spooky way. Then there's the vocal melody. With each chord change, it moves further and further down in pitch, like you're descending into the depths. And the pattern is full of minor seconds. When you have leaps in a melody, like fourths, fifths, or more, it can often sound wide, sweeping, and soaring. But when you use lots of half steps and chromatic movement, it starts to feel, well, a little bit claustrophobic. Finally, we have an arpeggiated bell-like instrument in the background that has an unusual rhythm, too. Instead of a simple up and down pattern, it's unpredictable and moves in all directions. That contributes to the eerie, unstable feeling. Listen for that at the end of the verse here. Whispers of time. Now for the chorus section. While the vocals in this part are a little more pop than spooky, it's worth mentioning the music underneath. Having an ominous bass or pad drone on a single note is a great way to make anything sound a little darker and more mysterious. In fact, you can't really hear the background choir pad very much. The drone is louder. The chords mostly come from the harmony vocals, and they're also outlined by the bell arpeggio. That mostly leaves just the powerful low bass drone, which is nice and atmospheric, in a creepy kind of way. The Kindred night. Okay, next, let's talk about instrument choice or instrumentation using our arrangement of the Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Sword of Destiny. Sometimes the fewer the instruments, the better. If you have a wall of sound with thick orchestra, synths, and drums, it's hard to sound eerie or creepy. That's why the beginning of this track is very sparse with just the vocals and a few drum hits underneath. Letting the vocals ring out and fade away with the reverb is a chilling effect, isn't it? In the next section, we use a low cello drone to set the ominous tone. On top, there are multiple solo violin tracks played by the lovely and talented Eroton, Kate Covington. One layer is playing this really raw pattern, and the other one is providing some extra harmony and dissonance against the vocals. As every horror film buff knows, strings are a go-to choice when you want to make something very spine-tingling, mainly because of their higher register and ability to sound harsh and thin when played in a certain way. Even a large, low instrument like cello also has the ability to sing in a high register and with screechy overtones. Writing that same section but with something like grand piano or saxophone just wouldn't have the same spooky effect. A little bit later on, we're still using the same cello and solo violins, but with very dark, pulsating synth in the background. It's heavily filtered with some light distortion, allowing it to provide that bassy oomph while also sounding a little raw and edgy. The drums are various hand percussion and ensembles, taiko, dole, toms, and found sounds. These aren't exactly scary per se, but they have a more distinct sound than a plain acoustic drum kit or traditional orchestra percussion. So let's hear another clip from The Witcher 3. So to sum up, you don't have to use the stereotypical horror sounds like prepared piano or waterphone to give something an eerie or chilling vibe. Plus, if you can get live players, they can bring a new dimension to the sound that's really hard to do with virtual instruments. On this track, working with Eroton brought a whole new dimension to the arrangement. Just one more live musician besides me, but it really added a lot, wouldn't you say? Now, the last subject I'd like to discuss is vocal performance. What are the singing techniques we can use to enhance an eerie track? Well, to me, it's all about contrast. Using a pure focused tone versus softer breathiness, using more vibrato versus none, and of course, using a range of dynamics from piano to forte and beyond. All three of these elements are closely intertwined, and the more contrast you can incorporate into your performance, the more ghostly and mysterious the mood becomes. So first off, experimenting with vibrato is a technique that can provide contrast in vocals. Vibrato is a rapid, slight variation in pitch that produces a stronger or richer tone. When I sing with no vibrato here in these one-woman choir pop stacks, it sounds very light and eerie. Let's hear a clip from our Zelda Ocarina of Time Forest Temple arrangement, which we called Generations on my solo album Atlantis Awakening. In contrast, I use more vibrato in the chorus section at the tail end of each word or phrase, as well as in the bridge immediately following. Here, I sound more confident, intense, and intimidating. Onesie, onesie, waiting, heavy, heavy, flowing. Another technique you can play with is the vocal tone. What is tone? It's defined as the sound with reference to its pitch, quality, and strength. So what I would call a pure tone is when your voice sounds the most focused without any extra noise or static in the way the sound waves resonate. It's usually stronger. On the flip side, a breathy tone incorporates more air, which produces a bit of a hiss in addition to the pitched sound. Breathy singing is usually gentler. In that first bridge section of the Zelda song, my tone is clear and focused, with some more chest voice, as singers like to call it. But for the one-woman choir pop stacks that come right afterward, I sing with a breathier, airier tone. Have a listen here. I think this alternating between breathy and focused tone adds some nice chilling contrast. The breathy choir singing sounds ghostly, quite literally by incorporating extra wind and hiss into the sound. The clear, focused tone of the bridge sounds more intense and intimidating, very appropriate for situations like being transformed into an old hag in the forest at night, you know, typical Halloween stuff. Finally, what about dynamics? In music, dynamics are the variation in loudness between notes or phrases. This is probably the most obvious way a singer or instrumentalist can provide contrast in their performance. So piano means quiet, right? And forte means loud. Just like fortissimo means very loud and pianissimo means very quiet. So picking up where we left off after the last clip, let's hear some softer singing with the original parallel fourths chant we wrote for this song. I'd call those vocals mezzo piano. Follow those up with a slow crescendo into loud forte vocals. You may have guessed this already, but yes, vibrato and vocal tone can also be linked to dynamics as well. See what I mean here. Have any goosebumps yet? With all three performance techniques combined, vibrato, vocal tone, and dynamics, we've established some great contrast to send chills down your spine. Now, of course, some appropriately spooky lyrics are the finishing touch to any and all of these songs, but that's a subject for another day. I'd love to discuss my process for lyric writing in a future video if you'd find that interesting. So please let me know your questions in the comments. Now with that, I wish you a delightfully devilish Halloween. Have fun, be safe, and please enjoy my full playlist of spooky tunes from Zircon and me. Until next time.